Hello again. When Nigel Farage revealed that his bank account had been closed down and that he was unable to open a new one, many people on the left wing found the idea amusing. And there was a general feeling of, well, what do you expect? His bank doesn't want to be associated with such a high profile troublemaker. It was a different story when a quietly spoken 62-year-old Anglican vicar revealed that his bank had also closed down his account without any explanation being offered. It seemed that he had responded to his bank's request for feedback by asking why they had so many gay pride flags all over his local branch and why they were getting mixed up in politics rather than just focusing on looking after their customers' money. A reasonable question indeed, you might think. The bank in question is the Yorkshire Building Society, and they say that they only ever make the difficult decision to close a savings account if a customer is rude, abusive, violent, or discriminates in any way. It's hard to believe that this vicar in question has been violent, rude, or abusive. In fact, the bank simply didn't like being asked questions about the rainbow flags. Two things strike me about this business. The first is how bizarre the world has become. I had an account with the Westminster Bank before it merged with the National Provincial to become the National Westminster. This was sometime in the 1960s. I struggle to imagine why the bank manager at that time would have had the slightest interest in whether or not a customer approved of sex change operations or was in favour, say, of legalising homosexuality. In those days, his only concern would have been for the state of the customer's finances, whether he was in credit, and so on. That, after all, is the proper business of banks. How we have moved to a situation where a bank manager filtered a man's view on sex change operations means that the bank must terminate his account is something of a mystery to me. The second point is a more serious one, which is that in modern society it's all but impossible to survive without a bank account. Many shops refuse to deal in cash these days, and almost everybody pays for everything, from their electricity bill to their shopping and so on, by means of a debit card from their bank. I can hardly imagine what would happen if my bank account was frozen. All my direct debits, standing orders for everything, would not be paid. Even if I found a new bank immediately, it would be a devil of a job notifying everybody and changing all those arrangements from PayPal to the people who provide my website. If I was unable to open an account with another bank, then I really don't know what I would do. Of course, the real purpose of all this is to stop people asking questions and encourage them instead to remain silent on matters relating to sexuality, race, immigration, and so on. The prospect of having your bank account removed is such a horrifying one to most people that just these few high-profile cases will be enough to send out a powerful message that you would be well advised not to rock the boat, and that the quieter you remain, the less chance is there of this misfortune befalling you. As I say, I cannot for the life of me imagine why my bank manager would really care about sex changes, but this has really become a litmus test for holding acceptable views generally. The man who objects to sex change surgery for children is likely to be the kind of fellow who is also irritated at the agenda which pushes the interests of black people at the expense of all other minorities. A man to be watched, in other words, and perhaps a kind that you don't want to do business with. After all, if you wish to keep in well with the government, then you don't want too many political loudmouths among your customers, do you? Much safer to ditch those sort of people and make sure that all your staff and customers subscribe to the same liberal and progressive orthodoxy as everybody else. I think some people might see echoes here, or I must hope it's not foreshadowings, of the Chinese system of social credit, where you really have to work hard if you want the good things in life and not rock the boat by contradicting the views of the government.